All right. Before we are going to write any code, let's look at our ready application so you can understand what we are going to do, and then you will have better idea what we are typing. Just as the logic, we are going to only concentrate on visual interface of our application. We are not going to do any login or register code for now. So let's say the email text field. By default, this placeholder on the top has no text. So when my user clicks on email and starts typing it, what I want to do is to change the text of this label. So we change it to email. If this text label is empty, this label should have no text, so it's kind of invisible to our user, right? So this is what we are going to do. If I run my application, and not the ready application, you will see that both the label and the text field, they are visible at all times. So the label here and the text field, doesn't matter if I type here, this label has its value and it stays there. So we want to start our application with no values for these three labels. And then whenever our user types something in a specific field, we want to show the label on top. To do this, we are going to use the delegate of our text field. So there is a handy function that whenever we sign up to be the delegate, we are kind of informed that the text field was changed. Not really a delegate. What we are going to do is add actions to our text fields here. So whenever some value changes, we will be notified. So let's do this after our mark IB actions. I'm going to put mark and call this setup. And here I'm going to create a private function. And we're going to call this setup text field delegates. All right. And we have three text fields, is the email text field, and we want to add a target to this. So our target, the target is going to be self. It means the function that will be fired is our current view, inside our current view. So we say that it's self, then the action. This is the name of the function that we want to call whenever our text field does something. The does something part is for control event. So if you just say dot here, it will give you all the different control event options you have. We are interested in whenever our user is editing our text field. So we say it can type like edited, changed. And whenever this happens, it means our user is typing. So every time our user types, this event is called. And we need to have a function that will be called every time our text field is edited. So let's create that function. And here we are going to give it a name as #selector. And you can see it requires an Objective-C method. That's why it has @obj_c in front of it, and you will see how we are going to implement this in just a second. I'm going to call the function text field did change, and we are going to pass a text field here so we have access, because we are going to call the same function for all three of our text fields. And based on who is calling this function, we are going to understand which view to change. So I'm going to copy and paste this 3 times. This currently gives us an error because there is no such function like text field did change. Before we do that, I'm going to change this to password text field and repeat password. Password text field. So we are adding the same action to all 3 text fields we have. And now let's write the function @obj_c. I'm going to copy this func, and let's put the name here. And this function is going to accept one parameter, text field. And it's gonna be a UI text field. Now the errors will disappear because we have this function. Right, and let's just say print changing text field. And if we need to call this function, setup delegate, and we're going to call this in view did load. And now if I run my application, we can see how this works. So if I come here, let me just open this up and delete everything from the console. And if I start typing, you can see text field did change. And same goes for deleting. But this happens for every text field, we just get the same result. What we want to know is to understand which text field is sending the information, because we have 3 text fields here. And this is where our text field comes in. And what we want to do here is to create another function that is going to update the placeholders for us. So let's write this function. Let's create another section here, call this animation, private func, and let's call this update placeholders. Actually, update placeholder labels, because this is what we are going to update. And to update the correct placeholder label, we are going to pass our text field here. UI text field. So depending of what text field we have, let's say the text field we are passing here is our email text field, then we know that we want to update the email label. If it's the password text field, we will update the password label, and the repeat password will be the repeat password. So I'm going to do a switch statement, and we're going to do the switch on the text field name. So I will just put text field here. And in case if it's our email text field, and we're going to write the code here, then we create another case, and we have password, and we have the default case, which if it's not this or not this, it's going to be our repeat password. So let's see how we are going to update. We have this label, email label outlet, password label outlet, and repeat password outlet. So let's go here. Remember, we have access to this text field. I'm going to say that email label outlet, it's a label, so we have access to the text parameter. Then I want to change the text depending if my text field has anything inside or no. So let's say equals, and I'm going to write a short if statement, and we access our text field dot has text. And if it has text, this part of the if statement will be called. So if it has text, we are going to put the label text of my email into email, otherwise it's just an empty string. So this line is equivalent of if text field has text, we say this is equals to email.
To whom would you like to send this message?
Is Siri helping me out there when I don't need it? So we say email, we say else here, we put this, and we say we don't want anything. So this is the long version, and this is the short version. You can use whichever you want. I'm going to use the short version. And the same thing we're going to do for our password. So password text field, password label outlet, and then we change this to password or empty string. And finally, we have this repeat password label, and we change that as well. So we have this function, and now the question is where we are going to call this. We want to update our user interface every time our text field is changed. So I'm going to come here, say update placeholder labels, and we're going to pass our text field. So whenever our text field is edited, this function will be called and we will tell it which text field is editing. And then we take the text field, pass it to our update placeholder, and then it will go ahead and do the update for us. So if I run this, we will see that our code is working, but not really as we expect, because by default we have some kind of text here. So if I write something and if I delete everything, it will disappear. And also you can see all our user interface jumps because there is nothing there. What I want to do is go to my main storyboard. Here we are going to give this, first of all, some constraints, specifically height constraint. And not only this, let's select all three of them. So option click, or no, command click to select multiple values. And let's add a height constraint. And now we are going to delete the placeholder for all of them. Not a placeholder, it's just a label, so it's the text. Let's remove this. Let's remove that. And finally the repeat password. Right, so now we have no text, but the size here is kept because we have set the height constraint. Otherwise, because everything is in stack view, whatever is hidden, it will just be pushed out and the stack view will use the space. So if I rerun my application again, you should see that this is working properly now. So if I write something here, the email appears. If I delete it, it disappears. Let's try the password. Password appears and disappears. You can see again our user interface moves a little bit, and this is because of these text fields. Let's select all three text fields and let's give them some height constraints. Height, and let's add this. And if I try again, I have text or I don't have text, my UI doesn't move. And there is one issue. The title here we have same as for our password, but it should be a repeat password. All right, so this is the functionality for our labels and our text fields with a nice placeholder. The next thing we want is to keep this button hidden unless we need it. This is pretty easy. You go to our main storyboard, select the button, open the side panel, and there is an option to hide it. Just tick it hidden. And this will be kind of little bit, the alpha of our button is changed. So we know that visually when we see this, we know that this is a hidden button. You can see how it changes when I hide it. So if I run my project again, you will see that this button is not visible. But as long as we have an outlet connected to it, we can toggle this invisibility inside a code. Right, the next thing we want to do is when our user clicks this sign up button, for our user interface to change. By default, we are going to be in login view, so this repeat password won't be visible. And only when our user clicks on sign up, we are going to open up this area. We're going to change the button here. We are going to change the button here and the text here.